In today's video, I'm going to teach you everything you need to know about getting started with Apple Notes on your Mac. At first glance, Apple Notes seems like a pretty rudimentary tool that comes pre-installed on your Mac, but if you learn how to use it effectively, it can be a really powerful tool, and the fact that it syncs across all your other Apple devices like your iPad and your iPhone just makes it even better. And then of course, you can share those notes and collaborate with other people with the click of a button. Of course, if you like this video, let me know by giving it a thumbs up. If you want to supercharge where's your computer, hit that subscribe button as well. That being said, let's get into this. So let's get started with Apple Notes. And of course, if your Mac is already set up, you have signed into your Notes account. The first thing I'm going to show you though is actually a little tip, and it's not opening Apple Notes from the dock here, but if you put your mouse in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, this little window pops up and it is the latest note that you've opened. So if I select in the corner, my little Apple Note is going to pop up here, and I use this all the time when I quickly need to write something down, or if I'm editing and I'm making my bookmarks for the videos. Instead of having to open Notes and go through it that way, I always go into the bottom right hand corner and pull up my little note. So that's a little quick tip to get you started. But now I'm going to close out of that and open up the full Notes program. If you select on your notes in the ribbon of your Mac and scroll down to where it says settings, you're going to be opened with your default settings for notes. And this is where you can customize a few different things. Like you can choose how these notes are sorted. Do you want them sorted by the date they were edited, by created, or by their title? Do you want the new notes to start with their title, their heading, their subheading, or their body? I leave these to default, but one thing that I do change is down the bottom here, there is the option of use Touch ID. So you can set locks on your notes, and instead of having to always remember the password for that note, if I go use Touch ID, if your Mac has Touch ID enabled, you can actually just use your finger and sign in that way. I'm going to use the password that I've already set. And then instead of having to use or put the password in all the time, I can use my Touch ID instead. I would recommend if you want to have a look at these settings by yourself later on, you definitely can. There is one button that's also default unchecked, which is enable the on my Mac account. So this stores notes locally to your Mac. That's cool that it doesn't sync it online, but if anything ever happens to your Mac, those notes are gone. I personally use everything on iCloud, so I have this turned off, but it's totally up to you. So now let's get out of that. But that's a quick thing to understand where your settings are and how you can customize them. All right, now let's dive into notes. The first thing I want to look at is the layout of your notes. And if you want to get more or less screen real estate on your notes, there is a little toggle here that allows you to either show or hide your different folders. And then of course you have access to your quick notes and your shared notes. These are the notes you've shared with someone else. Then I have all my notes stored in iCloud. So you can see here, I have 451 notes that I can scroll through. And then I've got my recently deleted as well. If you have your notes connected to your iCloud account, or your Exchange, sorry, you'd have the option of Exchange here. I don't really use that, but you can always connect it to an Exchange in the settings. And then of course you can filter by tags too. So if you use hashtags in your notes, you can quickly drop this item down. And then if I'm looking for all my hashtags of Microsoft, for example, it will filter to all those notes that have the hashtag Microsoft. So it's a really quick way to help you sort if you just hashtag something in. But let's go to all notes for now and hide this back up. You can see here I have all my notes here and I can simply just scroll through all of them. But if I wanted to use this in a gallery view, I can select on View Notes as Gallery instead. If I was using an iPad or a touchscreen, I think Gallery View is so much better. But I've just gotten used to using the list view on my Mac. But either way, super easy to jump from one view to the other. If you want to delete a video, you always have the little trash can here to simply go ahead and delete. I'm going to Command Z to bring that back, or you can always right click on it and go delete as well down the bottom. If you're going to create a brand new note, you have the option here for new note. If I select on this, it's going to pop up with a new note. It automatically puts in the time and the date at the top of when you created that note. And let's go ahead and start creating something. So we're going to call this how to use Apple Notes. By default, it gives it the heading. So it's bigger, it's bolder. But if you wanted to change this, in the center of your notes, you have the two A's to choose a style. And we can go ahead and actually change it to, maybe I've highlighted it, so a regular heading, a subheading, or we can add it to mono style. I'm going to leave this as title, but what you see here is when I type in that title, it appears in the note section as the title, so it's easy for you to search. If I go enter, enter, I can now start taking notes right away. So it's really, really cool that you can just start taking notes. If you wanted to use any quick shortcuts like Command Shift up to highlight everything and Command underline, you can underline it. But if you don't want to use those shortcuts, you can always highlight what you're after, select on the drop down, and then you can choose to italicize it or you can choose to strike it through, anything like that. These commands are pretty basic, to be honest, but I find they're all you really need when you're using notes in Apple. One thing I love using though is of course the check boxes or the tick boxes. You can see the three things I told myself I'm doing today is my 10,000 steps, a workout, and filming a video. I'm going to tick that off for today. And you'll see because I've edited today, it moved to the top of my list. But let's go back to how to use Apple Notes and let's see how we can add this in. There are two ways of adding a tick box to your Apple Notes. My favorite, which is a keyboard shortcut, Command Shift and L, automatically pops this up. And I'm going to say getting started. Whoop, and let's just highlight that. And now let's get rid of that strike through and that underline. So getting started with notes, another test, and one more. So it's really easy to quickly take notes and create a checklist here. You can, of course, use the button as well to add or remove. And then once you've got it there, you can simply go through and tick things off once they are done. What you see is once you tick it off, it moves to the bottom of the list and pushes everything back to the top. We use this for our groceries between Ash and I all the time. And we go ahead, we have a shared note, and on our iPhone, we're adding in what we need to buy. And when one of us goes to the shops, as we pick it up, we tick it off the list from the iPhone and it just updates from here. So it's really cool. It's really powerful to use this and it's super easy as well. And it works from your Mac to your iPhone to your iPad. Just going to press enter a couple of times and go down to the bottom. And then I'm going to add in a little table, and tables are awesome as well. So with a table, you can go ahead and just go, we're going to call this contents and we're going to call this actions. What you'll see with the table here is that you actually have these dots or these three ellipses that allow you to select that table, and then you get this drop down menu where you can add a column before or you can add a column after. Okay, add after. It's going to drop it to the side. Or if I select it on the row section, I can choose to add a row above or of course add a row below. And then I can highlight multiple sections if I wanted to, and then I can right click and I can delete these as well. So being able to quickly edit and create a table, again, you don't have all these features like you would in Excel or in numbers or anything like that, but to quickly jot things down, to have just the basic table helps you structure whatever was on your page. And it's really easy to quickly add or remove. I'm just going to go in and select this table and I'm going to delete that column. And I'm going to delete this column over here by selecting the drop down, delete column. And then I'm going to get rid of actions. Let's just go ahead, right click, cut that. We're going to right click, paste it at the top. And then of course, I'm just going to change my font. Let's make it nice and bold. If you right click on this, you also get so many different ways of interacting with it, like turning it into a link, sharing the page. All your fonts are down here as well. So maybe you want to italicize it, make it bigger, make it smaller. So you don't always have to use the button up the top here. You can right click and you get all these options down the bottom as well to edit that font. Or if you go into the format section up the top, you also get your font set items here. So you can make it bigger again. You can change the colors, change the style. And it's cool to know you can customize it, but I usually leave it whether it's just bolding, making it a bit bigger or a bit smaller. But if you go into the format section or you right click on the text and go font, you get so many more options as well. So let's start moving through to the further down. And then you see you also have the option of photos. And this is great where you can actually quickly take a photo, scan a document or a sketch. I'm using my iPhone right now, so I can't take a photo from my iPhone. But if I selected the button of Aldo's iPhone mini, I could choose this option. Then I just use my phone to take a photo and that would automatically appear into the notes section. So it's awesome. Then I can also choose to scan a document, again with my phone, or I can add a sketch. I'm going to select on photos at the top though, And this is going to open up my photo gallery. So from my photos on iCloud, you'd expect to double click, but you actually have to drag and drop a photo in, and then it goes in full size, right? If you select on that photo, there's a little drop down menu where you can choose to mark it up. So if you want to annotate it, you could, or if you go more, this just opens up your settings. So you can't really do too much here. One thing I wish you could do is actually resize it to whether it's just not big or small, but you'd have to right click on it, and then you can go view as. You can either have it small, so it's a little small icon here that you can move around your notes page, or you can right click on it, go view as, and go large. You only have those two options. I do want them to add in basically customizable sizes, because maybe you don't want it huge on the page, but you also want it a bit bigger than what it is there. But you can, of course, drop that photo in, and at least it's there, and you can open it up if you needed to. So it's really quick to open up as well, depending on the computer that you have. But it's a nice way of inserting photos from your photo gallery into your notes as well. Two things I want to show you are, of course, links within your notes. You see right now there is an add link button that is grayed out, and that's because we don't have any web pages open. So I'll go over to the Edge web browser. I'm going to open up a few links like YouTube. I'm going to jump over to Apple, maybe go under the iPhone section, and I'm going to right click and I'm going to copy this link. Then I'm going to jump back into my notes section. If I right click and paste this link in, it's going to be there just as a little hyperlink. But if you give it a couple of seconds, what you see is you can also choose to add the button in as a link. So instead of just having the hyperlink there, if I select on the add link option and go add it, it actually looks a lot nicer. So you can either copy and paste a link across like we did, and I'm just going to paste it in. Or if you give it a couple of seconds, you actually get the option of adding a link, and it will grab the most recent link that you've just been on, and it will drop it in as a link in your notes. I do wish you could actually have that link always looking at the browsers that you're on, and instead of needing to go back to that specific page, I wish we would just say, hey, here's all your 5 tabs, and you could drop in the link that was important to you. But of course, you can drop a link in by having it open, copying it, and then pasting it in, or you can wait for Apple to pick it up and then allow you to drop it in as a link, which looks a lot nicer. I'm just going to delete this for now, and I'm also going to show you how to create a hyperlink. So maybe I wanted to create a hyperlink here where I'm going to type in my own bit of text and I want it to link to a page. So I'm going to grab YouTube, for example. I'm just going to copy that link, and then I'm going to select on hyperlink in notes, press on the keyboard shortcut Command K, and this is going to allow me to add my own link to the text hyperlink in notes. So I'm just going to paste that in, select on OK, and then now this has turned that into a hyperlink, and it will show me, if I select on it, it will take me straight over to youtube.com. Another way of doing this instead of the keyboard shortcut, so I'm going to create a link. I'm going to double click on the word link, right click, and then I'm going to add the option of add link or Command K as it shows you here. And then you can paste in any URL that you want. I'm just going to put in YouTube one more time because it's simple. Go OK. And then we've created a hyperlink in our notes as well. So instead of having to have the URL, you can just create a quick link there by using Command K or right clicking on a word, adding a link, and then pasting in that URL. So it's really, really cool. And again, super, super simple. As you're creating notes, you might have sensitive information in there that you don't want to share with everybody, or you don't want people to go through your phone and be able to access all your notes. And this is where using the lock or the password on your notes is really powerful. So if I select on the lock option, I can choose to lock the note. And then because we turned on Touch ID earlier, I can just press on my Touch ID, and it's going to lock that note. It's going to say about lock notes. You can choose to close all your notes and hide the content, and I'm going to select on OK. And then what you'll see here is that because we're in the note, it is currently unlocked. But if I right click on it, I can choose to remove it. Or if I close out of my notes completely, open it up again, you'll see here it is now a locked notes. So if I wanted to go into it, I'd either need to fill in the password or use my Touch ID. So I've just used my Touch ID then. It's asked me to say, don't forget your password, because if you do, you cannot unlock it. I'm going to go OK. To relock it, all you have to do is quit out of notes. Or if you wanted to remove that lock, drop down on the lock option, go remove lock. And then because we're already signed in, it's removed that lock from here. So it's really easy to lock your notes, but make sure if you do put a password on them, you remember it, because if you forget that password, there's no way of getting back into those notes once you've forgotten it. But again, really easy, really simple, and really cool to work with. Say you wanted to share this note and collaborate with someone, because like for me, it could be a shopping list, it could be a project idea, it could be any of that. In the top right hand corner of notes, you have this little share icon. And if you select on this, you get a pop-up option, and it shows you different ways you can share. You can airdrop it, you can mail it, you can message it. It gives you a few recommended people here. And then at the top, you actually have the option of, do you want them to collaborate, or do you want to send a copy of that note? And if you select on collaborate, which I most likely would recommend because you want to work with it together, you can choose on the option of only invited people can edit. If I open this up though, who can access it? Well, everyone with the link or only the invited people. So you can choose what that link can do and who can access it. And then you can choose the permissions that they have. Can they make changes, or can they view it only? And then do you want to allow them to pass that note on to other people? So to get into this, again, you just select that little drop down that says only invited people can edit, and then customize your settings from here. It's really easy to share. And then you can choose how you want to send it across, whether it's mail, whether it's a message, whether it's another program, or you can just go invite with a link, and then you're going to copy that link, and then you can just send it off to anybody in your contact list. So super easy. Once you've been using notes for a while, you end up like me with 450 odd notes, and sometimes it's really hard to find things, which is where searching instead of looking for it is actually a lot faster. You can actually choose a little magnifying glass here to drop down and choose which accounts you want to search if you have multiple accounts. Or if you can select on the search option, it gives you some suggested searches as well. You can search by shared notes or locked notes, ones with a checklist or a hashtag, ones that have drawings, scan items, or attachments. I'm actually going to search for, let's go a checklist here, and you'll see all the videos that I have with checklists will appear. It gives you the top hits up the top, and then of course it gives you all your notes underneath down the bottom, and then it helps you find that list. Maybe you're looking for this and you also wanted to add some text in because you want it to be how to. So well, I've searched for everything with a checklist, and then also with the word how to. So you can also narrow down your searches, and it shows you, it highlights the words that you're looking for, which just helps you narrow down the search that you're after. To get out of the search, we're simply going to select on X, or of course, open the note that you want. One thing I realized that I did gloss over is actually how you can add a sketch into your notes. So you will need an iPhone or an iPad when you do this, but on the note that you're after, select on the photos option, choose add sketch. This will find your connected devices around, and then it would say add a sketch with your iPhone 13 or your iPad. You can start writing and drawing away, because on your device there, it would give you little pen controls, which is really quite cool. I'm not going to go through that in this video because this is about using notes on your Mac, but that is a feature I would recommend checking out. If you want to see a video on it, let me know in the comment section down below. One cool thing with notes is, of course, you can also have multiple notes opened up at the same time. So I'm going to double click on this note here. It's going to pop out, and this is some timestamps that I was looking on. I'm going to double click on the notes we are just working with, and then maybe you want to see them all side by side or see all the notes you have open. If you right click on notes in the dock, you can of course quickly jump between those different notes that you have, and you can also go on the option of right click and go show all windows, and this shows you all your notes windows you have open. From here you can quickly just navigate from one note to the other, and if we select on the arrow on the right hand side, this will show you all your additional settings, or if we double click on it, it will make that note go full screen. But I'm going to X out of that, and go back into this page here. Sometimes you don't want to type into your computer, but you want to dictate instead. So this intro that I had in my notes, I actually dictated that so I knew what I was going to say before I turned the camera on. And to dictate is really quite simple. You have two ways of doing it. The first one is going into the edit section, scrolling down and choosing on the option of start dictate, or if you have a keyboard shortcut on my M1 MacBook Pro, it's the F5 button. If I select on that, it allows me to start dictating into the Mac, and instead of typing with my hands, I can start talking into notes and it will start dictating away. Then I'll press F5 one more time and it will stop that dictation. But you can see it's really easy to dictate into your notes. And of course, you can work with emojis too. If you want to put an emoji in your text, you can go edit, go all the way to the bottom and go emojis and symbols. And this will give you your emoji pad from your Mac. Another quick way to get into this is the keyboard shortcut Command Shift Spacebar, and this pops up that same emoji piece. And then you can just start dropping in emojis into your notes as well, which just makes it a bit nicer when you're working away, adding some emojis, add a bit more character to it instead of just plain text. By now, you should be really familiar with how to use Apple Notes, and I'm going to show you how you can actually customize your toolbar as well by right-clicking on the toolbar here and selecting on Customize. What you'll see is that all the widgets start to wiggle, and this is where you can actually remove things or add things to it. One thing you probably didn't know is that these spaces in between, they're actually called flexible spaces, and you can take them away. So if you want everything to be condensed, you can remove those flexible spaces, or if you wanted to add your own in, you could go in and drop a flexible space in somewhere. So you can just divide it up however you like. So if I drop that in, I'd actually have my new notes, my settings, as well as my checklist on the left-hand side. Then I've got that flexible space bar in the middle. Or if I didn't want that, I could move that around, put it back to where it default was, add a flexible space here, and put it back to how it was. Maybe I want to not have my delete option so readily available. So I'm just going to remove that away and I'm going to take delete out of here. Or I want to add the attachments option. So I want to make sure I can either add a new note or an attachment. I'm going to go OK. What you see here is that our delete button is now, it's gone from being a quick button, but I can quickly find my attachments here instead. And I was going to show you attachments in a second. I've already clicked on it. But what this allows you to do is actually scan through all of your notes. So this is a search, and this looks at all the attachments that you've attached into your notes over the years. I've attached things like photos of my website, photos of when I had acne and I was scanning or just taking photos of it. I'm going to open up this photo. Actually, let's open up this one. For example, right click, go show in note. And this is going to take us over to the 21st of February 2024. And it shows me some of the attachments I had in that note. So it's another way of filtering by selecting on the attachments. And I've dropped it in there so it makes it a lot faster. Or I could go over to when I had really bad acne. I'm not going to open those up, but you can sort of get the idea. And you can search by photos and videos, whether it was a scan of a document, whether you dropped a map or a website in there, an audio clicking or a document. I've really only ever attached photos and documents, but if you use this for more work-related things and you have scans and maps and things like that, you can quickly filter by those as well. So now I'm just going to jump back to our latest section. I'm going to right-click and customize one more time because I do want to bring that trash bin back. I'm going to put it back to where it was and go done. That's not where it was. I'm going to move it over here. And you can see the flexible spaces, they do move around as well, and go done. The last thing I want to show you is how you can turn on dark mode or dark theme in your Apple Notes. And this is, unfortunately, you can't turn it on just for notes. You have to turn it on system-wide. But I'm going to use the search option. Spotlight search isn't the best, but it's under appearance. So if you type in the word appearance, this is going to open up your settings. And then if you choose to turn on dark theme, you'll see that your Apple Notes behind also goes dark too. If you have it on light, it goes light. And if you go on auto, it will of course adjust when your computer's on dark or light mode. And there you have it. That is a comprehensive overview of how you can use Notes on your Apple Mac. There's a lot to cover, and I think there's a lot more features than people realize that are there at first glance. Of course, if you like this video, let me know by giving it a thumbs up. And if you want to supercharge raise your computer, hit that subscribe button as well. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.
In the wild, where the trees sway, there's a fox bragging gay.